Hi, my name is Sunny Taylor, and I was separated from the U.S. Air Force before I could even finish basic training. I was separated due to my mental health, depression, and anxiety. I'm making this video for anyone who is considering joining the Air Force or the military in general. I can't speak for every branch, but I can speak for the Air Force in my experience with my mental health background and being in basic for 5 weeks. I was in San Antonio for 3 months. I'm sorry if I keep looking around or looking distracted. I've never made a video like this before, but I've been debating making this video for the longest time. It's been sitting on my heart, but I've been kind of scared too, I guess, because, for one, being perceived by people, it's scary. But, oh, and like, kind of terrified of someone in my family seeing this and being worried about me because I've talked to them about it and how much it did hurt, but I don't think I ever really went into depth with it, I guess. But I'm making this video for anyone who is considering joining the Air Force because I feel like this is something important to know so you don't get blindsided like I did. So this all started it started in the beginning. So I was separated due to mental health background, right? My recruiter, I won't mention her name, I did mention this to her, like the first phone call we had together. She was like, do you have any depression, whatever? And I mentioned to her, my parents, they're divorced now. They were just going through a really hard time, and I could hear that happening. And I was 12, already going through puberty. It was just a bad combination. I got depressed. It was bad. I'm good now, but it was rough to deal with, right? That was when I was about 12 to 14-ish. I'm 20 now, about to be 21. So I've healed, I've matured, I've grown in understanding. I know what happened, and I moved on. So I mentioned this to her, right? And she's like, oh, okay, I totally get it. Things happen. So we continue on. Eventually, I get down the process. I've taken my ASVAB. I scored highly. I was disqualified for a couple jobs due to my eczema. I have moderate eczema on my hands and, on my arms and stuff. So that disqualified me from a couple jobs, but I didn't mind because one of the jobs I was qualified for was to be a mental health technician. And I was really excited about that. I have always been interested in the human brain and people's feelings. And all I've ever wanted to do was help people. And I thought that would have been the perfect job for me, right? I had this background of being depressed and anxiety. I'm just naturally anxious most times until I get comfortable around people. And I thought it would have been perfect. I can relate to people, I can understand them. They can feel safe talking to me because I want to help them. I was really excited. Eventually, after a bunch of back and forth for different reasons, I got to basic. I was shipped off. And even when I was trying to leave for basic, my flight actually got delayed by one day due to a freak blizzard that happened in Alabama and in Texas. So all of these may have been signs that I wasn't even supposed to be going in the first place because there was just so many things happening, like me deciding to go and then not wanting to go and then back and forth, eventually deciding that I did want to join because it was going to make my life easier, pay for college and all of that good stuff. Excuse me. So I decided to go because I did score so highly on my ASVAB as well. I didn't know of the job opportunity before I decided to leave. Okay, let me stop. This is getting confusing, sorry. I made the decision to not join the Air Force for about half a year just because I was scared. It was such a big change and I didn't think I wanted to explore my other options before I went. Those ended up falling through. And since I did score so highly on the ASVAB, I got a 71, which is like a B. I decided, I don't really have any other options. I was working at Target. It was miserable. And I was so tired of not feeling like a person for almost no money. I was making $15 an hour, which is good. just not good enough for what I was experiencing there. But that's besides the point. So I decided to follow through with joining the Air Force, and now I'm leaving for basic, even though I was a late arrival, but I wasn't the only one. It was me and a few other people delayed due to the snowstorm that happened. It was ridiculous. I was supposed to leave January 21st, I want to say. I didn't ship out until like the 23rd. But yeah, okay, sorry. I don't have any notes. I probably should have made them so I can stay on track. I have a tendency to ramble. Before I left, my recruiter told me of the job I was qualified for, the mental health technician. I was really excited. She mentioned that I was going to have to do a background check just to make sure that I was okay, to be like interacting with people about their mental health. And I was like, yeah, for sure. And I passed that, because I am mentally stable. And it's not like I lied or anything. I can't even remember the background, how it went, but do you ever feel blue? Do you ever have feelings of harming yourself? I think. Or it wasn't quite so on the nose, but it was kind of a test like that. I think. But I don't even remember at this point. But I got to basic, and a few weeks in, there was something you had to take, the BAS test, which stands for behavioral something something. I don't remember, but it was a test you had to take. Now, because I was a late arrival, I didn't take, I had to go to a makeup class, me and a few other people that also arrived late, because that was something you were supposed to do in the first week, I don't think, or 0 week, I think. You're supposed to do it in 0 week. And I don't think I ended up doing that until either first or second week. Probably first. It was around there. So I go to take this test, and it kind of just looks like, if you've ever taken the ACT where you like bubble in the answers, it was like that basically. It asked you a question and you answered corresponding, like A, B, C, like that. So eventually it got to like, mental health stuff, and it was like, have you ever felt blue? Have you ever had thoughts of suicide or ending your own life, or feeling like you are a burden to those around you, stuff like that. And I answered honestly. Now, the way I'd answered, it wasn't in terms of me then, like as a 20-year-old taking the BAS test. I was just talking about, in my life, I had felt that way because that was the truth. And that's what got me. I was being naive. I should have known better, because I thought, well, I already, passed a previous behavioral analysis test, to get into basics. So this one I should be allowed to be, just honest on. And I don't think I lied on the first one either. Yeah, because, okay, it was at MEPS where you had to do that. It was kind of like a personality test. It was like 100 and some questions. You just had to answer those. Like, let me try and think of an example. Do you ever feel like people are talking about you when you're not around? It was questions like those, kind of. There were so many of them, honestly, there were. It was a nightmare. But basically, well, where was I? What was I saying? Sorry, I'm just gonna pause. Okay, I remember now. Basically, I just answered truthfully, about my experience, how I had, let me preface that I had felt that way. I wasn't feeling that way now, but it's not like there was a specification. And the instructors at the front of the classroom, we were in this classroom taking the test, they were like, just answer honestly. And if any of your answers get flagged, we'll just bring you back in for a follow-up. And I was like, okay, cool. They said that to everybody, not just me, before you started bubbling in everything. Oh my God. Just take the stand. So I answer my questions, I move on. Now, yeah, as I was saying, I was naive. I should have known better. I should have known that admitting, putting a name to being depressed and anxious was going to get me in trouble. I should have known that I couldn't actually be honest about that, which is so ironic, because I was going to be the person that people were supposed to tell me those problems, like those issues they were having with depression, anxiety, things like that. They were supposed to tell that to me. And it just sucks, because I wonder what they have to do now. Like, maybe when you're in, because I was in basic and not, graduated it became more complex. Whereas if I had been in for a couple years, maybe like I finished basic and tech school, and then I admitted to all that, it probably would have been different. Like, okay, we'll get you some help, but you're not going to get kicked out. And I'm just so sad because now I'll never get to help those people. And I hope they never have to feel like they're not allowed to tell the truth, because that's not fair. I am sure there's millions and millions of enlisted people or officers, whatnot, that are depressed and anxious, and they just haven't said anything about it because of the repercussions of that. And it's not fair. You shouldn't tell people that you shouldn't offer helplines if they're not actually allowed to help, basically. If you're not allowed to be honest with what you're actually dealing with. So it doesn't make sense. Just don't offer it at that point. But yeah, my test got flagged, and I didn't really realize it at the time because it's not like they immediately looked over everything and were like, hey, Trainee Taylor, come back, like in the same day. It was like a weekly, not weekly, more like a bi-weekly thing. So if that BAS test was week 1 or week 2, I had a follow-up at the BAS clinic at the Reed Center, maybe week 3 or something, and I was there for hours just waiting for someone to come and talk to me. Eventually they called me back, can I please get Trainee Taylor to come with me? So here I go. And basically it was this woman, I don't remember her name, it doesn't matter, I wouldn't say it anyway, but she just asked me about it. Like, okay, for one, sorry, I'm like all over the place. So before I was even evaluated at the clinic, I had to fill out this test, or like this little evaluation, I guess. Have you ever had thoughts of hurting yourself or others? Have you ever had thoughts of ending your own life? Have you ever felt sad or things like that? Or have you ever had suicidal thoughts within the past few months? I don't really remember how I had answered. I think I did say that I did have thoughts of harming myself, but not others. And that I did just kind of feel like a burden to everyone, which was something I had to answer later. Because basically I filled out that paper, I brought it to the desk, they looked it over, and then after like a couple hours, someone had called me back for follow-up questions. So she's asked me about the answers I gave, and I'm trying to explain it to her, like, look, I was depressed when I was literally like 12 to 14 a long time ago, and it was just a hard time, but I'm good now. She was like, okay, I understand. And I was like, are you sending me home? Because I had heard, like if you ever got, I guess, flagged for having mental health issues or something, they'll just send you home. I had no clue, okay? I didn't even know how bad things could get. She was like, no, we're not sending you home. It's just due to your background, you can't be a mental health technician anymore. And that's not to say that you can't be one down the road, just not right now. And I was like heartbroken. I was so sad because I was really excited, and then I was also embarrassed because since I knew what my job was before I went to basic, I told all my family members. Like, I told my dad, my grandma, my mom, different cousins and stuff. I was so excited about it. Excuse me. And I just didn't know what I was gonna say. Like, hey y'all, I'm okay, I guess. And it's not like we got frequent phone calls, and I barely had time to write people letters as well. So communications for updates, it was pretty limited. So I didn't even know what I was gonna say, and I just felt really embarrassed. But what happens next? I was like praying to just go back to, having to pick another job, like that being the worst case scenario, because I thought that was the end all be all. I had no idea, okay? So I can't be a mental health technician anymore. I have to get a new clearance. I didn't even get a chance to do that because at the next follow-up, after a couple weeks, I spoke to a different counselor. I don't really know what to call her. And I asked her again, I was like, hey, okay, I can't be a mental health tech anymore. Fine. Are you gonna send me home? And she was like, well, she didn't actually give me a direct answer because I knew it was serious, because this was maybe the second time I had to go back due to the test I had taken. So that's about 3 situations due to that first stupid test. And I had started crying just because that's the kind of person I am, you know. I just feel things very heavily. So if something's bothering me or I get upset, I just start crying. I can't help it. And that was bad too, because, you know, crying, your face gets all red and pudgy looking, not pudgy, it gets all red and inflamed. It's not attractive, and it like sends off a signal to the people around you like there's something wrong with this person. They may not know what it is, but they're just looking at you. So I was trying to explain to her why I'd answered the way I did because of the experience I had gone through in the past when I was younger. And since I was crying, I think that kind of signaled to her that I couldn't handle it. Like all of this was too much for me. Even though I was trying to explain, okay, I remember now. That was 3rd week because I think I had, okay, yeah, it was 3rd week because I had just passed the second initial PT test, which was the thing that I was worried about that was going to cause me to not be able to graduate, you know, not passing the PT test just because I get winded so easily. I suck at running. But I did pass and I was really excited about that. And I was trying to explain to her that I could handle being in the training environment, that I could handle a deployed environment because I was doing well. All of my PCs up till then and afterwards, I passed. I passed my second PT test. I failed the first one, but I passed the second one before the final like PT test in 5th week, which I also passed. Thank you. And I was trying to explain to her that I was doing well, that I could handle this, but since I kept crying, I could, for one, like barely even get my words out. I was kind of like flustered, so I didn't even really know what to say. I was just overwhelmed, right? I didn't really have a chance, and they didn't give me a chance, not really. So she told me that due to all of the flags I had in my answers and even in our one-on-one talk that day, that she said this, and I don't hold anything against her because I know it's not her fault. They're all just doing their jobs, right? She said that, and she told me, please don't take this personally. This doesn't mean anything against you. I just do not think it is safe or that you can handle the BMT/deployed environment due to how you are reacting and the answers you've given. That's essentially what she said. And she did put it in the records, like, because she had to make a recommendation to my flight commander. I was 326, we are bulldogs, and she had to make a recommendation to him about what she thought of me continuing in training. And she did put down that I wanted to be waived for my BAS so that I can continue training. She did put down that that is what I wanted, but she did not recommend it. So that's really what got me, because if she had been in favor of me also getting a waiver, I'm sure I would have been able to continue training. But I was just hopeful. She told me all this and they sent me back to, sent me on my way. So I go back to my squadron, me and my wingman. I don't even remember who was with me. I think it was my friend, but I don't know. So we're back, and it had been a while. Like, I hadn't heard anything else, and, you know, I'm like, okay, well, no news is good news. Maybe I don't have to worry about it. So 5th week rolls around. I passed my final PT test. I got an 88. So I knocked it out. Like, I almost got a 90, which is an outstanding. That's the requirements for getting undergrad. I was close, but not there, but I did pass. What was calling me? Anyway, and that was the main thing that I was worried about. You know, if I can pass the PT test, I'll be able to graduate. And I just felt so relieved. Like, that night was the first night of full sleep that I had actually gotten since I got there. Sleeping at basic was a nightmare for me. I don't know how people did it. I just felt like I never really fell asleep. Or if I did, I wasn't sleeping well because of all the black mold. Black mold, alleged, you know, they say it's just because we're not cleaning well enough. We were in Alcatraz. Those buildings are old, and they're just not suitable for life, but that's another topic. So that was the first, like, full night of sleep, like, rest that I had gotten. Since I'd gotten there, I'd been there for 5-6-ish weeks at this point, and I felt really good. And then the next day, I just had this unshakable feeling of dread. And I didn't know why. I couldn't, my guard was up basically. And I didn't know why, because I was like, well, I've done everything right. I've passed everything. Passed the PT test. That's what I was worried about. So what's wrong? And a couple days later, I found out. I'm on my way to dry cleaning to get my stripes put on my blues and stuff so they'd be ready for graduation, along with everyone else who needed to get their stripes added. So they'd be ready for graduation. I was in the reserves, right? So I got my stripes. I was going to be able to wear them at graduation. As I'm on my way over, one of my flight chiefs stops me. He's like, Trainee Taylor, hold off on taking your laundry. And I go, all right. Or that's not what I say, but you know. So I'm waiting, and then maybe 3 minutes later, he goes, pack your things. You're going to med hold tomorrow. And I knew why. My heart dropped. And I was like, yes, sir. I go up the stairs as fast as I can, and I just started bawling. Like, I was crying my eyes out. And everyone kept asking me what was wrong. And I tried to tell them, like, it's this test. I took this test and I answered too honestly. And now I have to go to med hold. And it's still hard to think about because it was just like, I don't even know what to call it. It just sucked, okay? I wouldn't wish this feeling on my worst enemy. And it still hurts to think about because it feels like it was so long ago, but just yesterday at the same time. I just remember my friends, they were like holding my hands, they were hugging me, trying to like console me, like, hey, it'll be okay, you know? I'm sure you'll get to come back. Because I had to pack up all my things, like empty out my locker, I had to get my civilian luggage, I had to take everything off the end of my bed, like my whole end of bed display. Like I had to pack up everything. And it took me until lights out, and I'm so grateful for all the friends I made because they all came and they helped me pack because I was just sat there, just standing looking at all the stuff on my bed. Like I was paralyzed, I couldn't even move. They all helped me, and I said, no, I don't want you to get in trouble because, you know, there could have been an off-duty check, like, within the next 5 minutes. And they're like, we don't care. We love you, Taylor. And I just started crying again. It was the hardest thing I had to do, I think, while I was there. Say goodbye to everybody. And I was trying to keep my head up about it, like, because I didn't know what it meant to be sent to med hold, like, not at all. Because a friend of mine actually had gotten taken away to med hold a couple weeks earlier, the third week, due to an injury she had with her hip. So she got taken there. But since I wasn't being sent for medical, you know, reason where you could like eventually come back once you healed, I was being sent for, you know, mental, VAS. I didn't even know how the process went. So my things are packed. The next day, I'm trying to keep my head up about it. Like, oh, maybe I'll get to come back. Maybe this could be like a turn and burn situation. Like I'm just there for a day and I get to come back. Because all I wanted to do was graduate. And that's what I kept telling. That is the one thing I was like able to get out to that woman who wasn't in favor of me getting a waiver to continue with training. The one thing I do remember that I did keep like specifying, like, all I want to do is graduate. All I want to do is graduate. Like, please, all I want to do is graduate. So I thought maybe I'd just be able to go, explain myself. And that was the other thing. I don't know what I was thinking, right? Like, I was going to get to talk to the 326 commander, like, plead my case, like, sir, Trainee Taylor reports is ordered. I know that I do have a mental health history, but that's not going to prevent me from being a great airman, from, like, completing training and graduating, stuff like that. I thought I was going to be able to explain myself, but that didn't happen. I'm, like, minding my business. The next thing I know, my flight chief's telling me that I have to go to Med-Hope the next day. And it sucked. It was miserable. So my things are packed. I do all my out processing stuff. Um, and as I was going, my another one of my flight chiefs, because we had three in our chain of command, she was like, I'm really sorry this is happening to you. You seemed harmless in a good way. She complimented my name because, everyone goes by their last name. And surprisingly, I was the only Taylor. That's not the point though. But she was complimenting my first name. She was like, "Oh, Sonny, that's a cool name." Just being a person, which was cool to see, because she was kind of like, she was, I don't know, she was on one sometimes. Like it just kind of depended. But she showed me that she was a person. Like truly, she was trying to encourage me as well. She was like, "I'm sorry this is happening to you," basically. And I was like, "Thank you," because I didn't really know what else to say at this point, because there was nothing she could do about it. Or maybe there was. I didn't know who to ask, like, about stopping this process. I kind of thought it was something you had to write out, like, okay, you go to med hold, and then I don't know who you talk to there, because I'd never been. I didn't even know what med hold was. So my out processing's finished. My two escorts and they helped me gather my things, and we go to med hold, which was a long walk from where I used to be. And I had just been like holding back tears the whole time. Like I had been crying throughout the morning, because the day I left for med hold was the day we all took the EOS, like the end of course test, or EOC. Wait, what was it called? Whatever, that test. And I didn't even get to take it, which at the time I wasn't too worried about, because I hadn't really been studying like I was supposed to. Like every Sunday, but I probably should have been studying, I kept like cutting the strings off my uniform because they kept growing back. It was miserable. And like trying to have my stuff folded, because wanted to make sure my locker and my drawers were stuff were looking good, just in case there was like a check for everyone's like locker and in the bed display after that PC was finished, because there was supposed to be like another check on those things when you weren't around. Anyway, that's not the point. But yeah, they were taking the EOC the day I got marched off to med hold, which was called the TRIS, the TRSS, which everyone so fondly called Trizin. And I'm going to tell you why in a minute. So I get there, I actually do my in processing at that squadron. I think it was 737. Yeah, 737 TRSS, 737 TRIS. So I'm in processed, and they hand me this blue belt. This is a belt you're supposed to wear all the time. Now, for blue belts, when you're wearing them in PT gear, that means you had a really good run time during your PT test. But if you have a blue belt on while you're in your OCPs, that means basically that the MTIs aren't supposed to yell at you. It shows that you are at the TRIS, and you are being held there for one reason or another before you could graduate, because there were also HOAs, holdover airmen, that stayed at the TRIS as well, because they could move on to tech school for one reason or another. They wore like an orange like cord on their shoulder. So those were just to differentiate, but those blue belts meant that you were at the TRIS. So I'm there, and I am like so sad. I am going through it. I was just like crying like in some seconds, because it's not like being on the line, being at the TRIS. It's kind of similar, but not really. Like they've recently started cracking down, because from what I was told, it used to be really laid back. Like right now, as of when I was there at the TRIS, because I don't know if it's changed again, because it seems like they're cracking down even more. But when I was at the TRIS, you got like 2 hours of phone time every week. So like 1 hour on Tuesday and 1 hour on Friday, something like that. And then you could do volunteer work to get more hours or go on base lib. So those phone calls were to boost morale. You can call your family, or just be on YouTube, whatever, listen to music, do whatever you want with that phone, with like, so long as you didn't open your camera, basically, or make a video call. But what I was told, like TRIS used to be even more laid back. Like used to wear your PT gear on the weekends. You used to get like 4 hours of phone time every day. Like you'd go on base lib frequently, but people abused it. So privileges kept getting cut back. So it wasn't like being on the line. Like there was a TV and stuff. You could like watch movies if you passed your inspections that morning after details and they looked all right. You can get cords, so it's like the PlayStation, things like that. So you still had to do details and stuff, but it really wasn't like being on the line. Like, for one, at least for me, there were no off-duty checks because we were like the only female dorm for trainees. What is it, Alpha 4? Alpha 4, right? Or was it Alpha 3? I don't remember. But we were the only female dorm, so there wasn't really any females MTIs. There was like one, but she went home. Like, and she wasn't there super often because her specialty was 6Ts, and 6Ts are people with suicidal tendencies. They pose like a threat to themselves, they're dangerous to themselves, and they need to be basically fast-tracked home. And I was BAS. It's close, but not the same, I guess, because I did specify that I didn't want to kill myself. I think was the only reason I wasn't considered a 6T. But in like the terms of who goes home, it goes 6Ts, BAS, and then I think urine analysis, and then everyone else just kind of depends. And your behavior also affects it. Like, we were told if you act badly, do stuff you're not supposed to do, they can make you stay longer. Like, it doesn't matter unless you're like a 6T, and I don't really know how it goes for 6Ts exactly, or like a really severe case where you just need to go home as soon as possible. They'll make you stay because no one wants to be in the tryst. No one wants to be there because it's limbo. You're just waiting. You'll do whatever it takes to get out of there, whether it's back to training or back home. And I can't speak for everyone, but for a majority of people, that's how it felt. Like, the friends I made at tryst, it was just like, get me out of here. Get me right now. Get me out of here right now, okay? It was not a joke. So it's just not a place you want to be. I mean, there was breadsticks, so it was cool, but otherwise, you didn't want to be there. So the first few days I was at the tryst, I was just like reeling. I was up and down, like, oh, maybe it won't be so bad. And it was like, oh my God, I don't want to be here. I want to be with my friends. I want to graduate. I want to hug my mom at graduation, get my coin, have my dad tap me out at the ceremony. And that first night I was there, I was literally like, I'll just run away. I will run all the way back to my squadron and I'll have them let me in. And what are they going to do about it? I didn't do that, thankfully. That would have been crazy. Everyone would have been looking at me crazy. I would have been called insane. And I don't even know. That would have been bad. I'm glad I didn't. But it was something I considered. Like, I ended up having to call the hotline in the bathroom the same night I had gotten there because I was like, I don't want to be here. Like, this is terrible. If I can't graduate, I just want to go home. And the guy on the other side was like, hey, girl, don't cry. You can't let anyone see that. Be strong. Keep your head up. You're going to fight back. And I was like, okay. Oh, my God. It was bad, okay? It was bad. And with time, it did get easier. Because I had spoken to my mom. I called that first day. Because the day I'd gotten there was actually one of the days where we had phone time. So I called my mom and my boyfriend, just trying to explain to them the situation. Like, hey, I might be coming home soon. And I explained why. And I thought it was going to make me feel better, but it ended up just making me feel like 1,000 times worse. Like, I didn't even call my dad yet because I was so scared that he was going to be disappointed in me. Like, he was going to be mad at me because I should have known better. And to be honest, on that test, I did end up calling him next time, and he wasn't. He was super understanding. He encouraged me, which I should have seen that coming. Like, he's not that kind of guy, but I just know he was really excited for me to be joining. He was really excited that I was joining the Air Force. Like, he was really proud of me for doing that. And I just didn't want to face him. But yeah, that first phone call, I just felt worse. I wanted to be home. I wanted to be out of there. I wanted to go back to training so badly. Like, that was all I wanted. Like, I didn't even unpack my stuff till like the second day because I was still in shock. Like, I was hoping maybe someone was gonna call me down to the tunnel, the CQ tunnel, and tell me like, hey, Trinity Taylor, you are gonna be out process from the tryst and in process back to your squadron to be with the rest of your flight. I kept hoping that would happen, like some miracle, but miracle never came. Sorry to spoil it, but a miracle never came. And I went to somewhere really dark, like this cross necklace around my neck. I was like writing in my journal all the time about how angry I was at God that I was there in the tryst in limbo, just waiting, when I should have been with my flight, getting ready to graduate, picking up my blues with the stripes on them for graduation. Getting all my friends' numbers, which thankfully everyone gave me their number before I left, because that was really the last time I was going to see them all at once. It was, and I'm really grateful. They were so sweet, and they gave me all of their numbers. Like, I barely even had to ask. They just, took the journal I was writing them in. They started writing down, because that was the last time I got to see them all in one place. I just kind of, lost my faith for a sec, I guess. I felt like, what kind of God would allow me to be there in that place in limbo for something I couldn't control, I felt like I was being punished for my mental background and my mental history. Even though it's not like it's something I wanted, I couldn't control it. I can't control it. I just felt like I was being punished. And I was so angry. I was angry, but there wasn't even anything I could do about it. Just had to keep my head down and stay out of trouble. So, I wouldn't get help there longer or put my rebuttal in jeopardy, because how it goes, once you're at tryst, you get scheduled to have your physical, a checkup to make sure you are separation physical, that's what it's called. Basically, that's saying you are cleared to leave, you don't have any medical conditions going on where it wouldn't be safe to release you, because if something were to happen to you on the plane or something, I don't know, they could be held liable, I guess. So you're not allowed to leave the tryst unless you are physically fit to. So you get your separation physical, then you get your LON, and the LON is when you can start your rebuttal process, hey, and the rebuttal doesn't mean you're trying to go back to training. It just means there's something in your case that you don't agree with, that you don't think is correct, and you want to, rebut to have that corrected. So it doesn't always mean that you are rebuttaling so you can go back to training. That's just what usually happens. That's why I was rebuttaling, because it's not the stuff in my case was inaccurate. I just didn't like that was why I was being sent home, because even though I do have a mental health history and background, that wasn't stopping me. I made it all the way to 5th week, and if Air Force basic training is 7 weeks, 5th week, you're right there. I was 5th week on the cusp of 6th week, so I'm about to be on, right? You don't just do that if you couldn't handle it. You don't make it all the way to your almost 6th week if you couldn't handle being there. So that's why I was trying to rebuttal, because I deserved to go back to training and to graduate and to hug my family and to be proud of myself, because I was that close and it felt like it was taken from me. I even felt like that's what happened, but it was my fault. I should have known better. It all comes back to that test. So, okay, separation physical, LON, and then after your LON, if you decide to rebuttal or not, if you decide to rebuttal, that makes the process take longer, because their court office, their lawyers, they were really understaffed. So that process was moving slowly. So after LON comes the info bear. That's where you finally get fully separated. They get you your plane ticket and you leave the next day, basically. So I decided to rebuttal because I wanted to go back to training. I debated it for a minute, man, if they wouldn't let me graduate on time, then I don't want to be here. I'm just gonna go home. But I did decide, after lots of encouragement, the friend I mentioned earlier, who got taken out due to a hip injury, she was there at the tryst as well. And I was so glad to have someone I knew there. And she encouraged me. She was like, I think you should rebuttal. And after a minute, I was like, okay. I will. I'm gonna try and fight back. And she was like, good. And I told my dad about it as well. He was like, good. And whatever happens, happens, okay? So, don't feel like it's your fault. That's what he said. Just fight back, okay? Do what you gotta do. Fight back, fight this, and whatever happens, happens, basically, is what he said. So I put in my rebuttal. I type up my thing. Basically, what I said is, I'm so much more than my mental health background. I rose my right hand and swore that I would serve the country. I can and will be a great airman if you allow me to be. That's basically what I said. And I mentioned how, I'd passed all my PCs, all my progress checks, first try, okay? Like, all of them, knocked it out, okay? I was trying to, plead my case, show, look, obviously, I can handle this. I made it all the way here, passed everything first try, all the way up to almost 6 weeks. You don't just do that, okay? Without not being able to deal with it. So I typed in my rebuttal, got some character statements from one of my MTIs, and my mom and my dad sent in one, and my friend, I'm just call her OG, she made me one as well real quick, because we both were going in to the ADC, I want to call it, I don't remember, the office where you type in your rebuttal. We were there at the same time, so, excuse me, she wrote me a character statement, I wrote her one, because those things, character statements, basically, it's just people, speaking to your character, it's in the name, trying to help you plead against it, hey, whatever this is, Trini Taylor is this, that, and the fourth. I know her. So I sent that in. After a couple days, I took it to the out processing office. I don't remember where those get looked over. They put your packet together and they put your name on it and they send it up to the commander of the 737 TRIS to have it looked over. Now, once you can only rebuttal once. So if it gets denied, that's it. So I'm sitting there waiting. It's been weeks. I'm slowly getting more and more comfortable. I'm actually starting to laugh again. I'm having fun. I made friends. But okay, like I said earlier, that place, it wasn't just called Trizon for no reason. There was the boys' dorm, they were tattooing themselves with shaving razors, ink pens and needles, sewing needles, I think. I don't even know where they got all that stuff. And they were literally tattooing themselves. This one guy, he just had a lion on his arm. It looked so stupid. It was so dumb. They thought it was funny too. They were laughing and we had to go into the the newcomers brief, and they brought that up. One of the sergeants, they lit everybody up for that. She was like, I can't believe it. That is so embarrassing. I'm going around trying to make things more easy for you, getting you base slip and stuff, and you guys are tattooing yourselves. That is so embarrassing. Oh my God. It was surreal. And a fight almost broke out in my dorm too, because I think people were getting really comfortable because MTIs aren't really around. They were there, but they weren't around. We weren't in danger of an off-duty check, almost ever, basically. I don't think there ever was one, not at night, because off-duty checks, that's after lights out and an MTI comes in. And we were never in danger of that being, the only female dorm and there being not, many female MTIs, just in general at the TRIS, especially not at night. And a fight almost broke out in my dorm. And I'm saying that because, tensions were high, lots of conflicting personalities, and really no one of authority to keep everyone in check. Because you're not really scared of anything there. Because at that point, everyone's like, well, what are they going to do? Send me to TRIS? So a fight almost broke out, and it was so crazy because I was in the latrine. You can't call it a bathroom there. I was brushing my teeth. I was supposed to be in bed, but I kept getting behind on all that stuff. And I hear yelling. It was loud. And then it stopped for about 20 seconds. And then they were actually yelling. So I run out. I peek into A-Bay. That's where everyone's fighting. I just see one tall girl. She was squaring up. And I couldn't even see because there was a crowd around there. Everyone was yelling, trying to stop them. I take the phone and call CQ. I was like, there's a fight now before. And it was, I'm not going to say his name. But one of the MTIs I knew he picked up, he was like, there's a fight. I was like, well, there's yelling. And mind you, I have toothpaste and a toothbrush in my mouth. So I was like, there's a fight now before. I'm trying to keep everything in. He jetted over here. Like the next 10 seconds, he was at our dorm. And mind you, he had to go up like a flight of stairs and everything. He was at the window. I go back to the latrine. I'm not trying to get all hemmed up. It was crazy, man. Like, it really was just a different experience. Like, I keep saying like too. It was something else, okay? But yeah, it really was like a prison. It was, oh my gosh. I was low key scared. Like I'd piss off the wrong person. I would get bop in the back of my head at night when I was in the latrine or something. That's how bad it was. But yeah, I don't know. I was there and I was getting adjusted, taking it day by day. I started working out again because I didn't want to like lose all the muscle or like stamina I built up. Even though I wouldn't have like if I were to be sent back to training, I wouldn't have to go take the PT test again since I passed the final week one already. But I still wanted to keep that momentum going because, you're supposed to keep passing PT tests like even after you graduate tech school and stuff, like throughout the years. I forget how it goes exactly. Like you're expected to keep passing those. So I was trying to make good habits. And one day, I had this one moment. I was out with my friend. She was trying to go back to training. She got out to a really bad ankle injury. Like she was 0 week too. So she hadn't even been like dealing with the full extent of being on the line yet. But she was at the tryst trying to get all healed up so she could go back to training. So as she was doing her laps around, trying to get more adjusted to being on her ankle again without having the boot or a scooter anymore, so proud of her. Hope she's doing well. I was just looking around and I was like, this place isn't real. Like, I was like, this place just isn't real. And the PT, no, the physical trainer. Okay, yeah, PT. She looked at me, she was like, what do you mean? I was like, this just isn't a real place. Now the whole like JBSA Lackland base, I already did not think was real. Like the only reason I still knew I was in Texas was because everything was flat, okay? Like being on base just felt like its whole other realm. Like it was detached from the entire world. So I was already feeling that way about being at basic already. And then to be at Tris, I was like, this isn't real. This is not a real place. And she was like, no, this place is real. I was like, no, it's not. It's not. Yeah, I don't know. I finally like, third eye opened, I guess, because the next thing I know, basically, I had been out after like a really long day. I was just going through it. I was so tired and so ready to get back to our squadron because I had been out with the same friend who was walking and working on her ankle. She had to go to the dentist to get something checked out, but then there was like a rainstorm, like a thunderstorm that happened. We weren't allowed to leave. So we had been held there just getting bounced around until we could finally like catch a bus to go back to our squadron. We're checking back into at the CQ tunnel and a girl comes up to me. She was like, hey, you got your LON. Now, I already had my LON. And the only thing after LON is InfoVer. And I was like, my LON? And then my other friend, the friend who got out with a hip injury, she was like, yeah, your InfoVer got called. Potential InfoVer. And I was like, I'm going home? And they were like, yeah, you're going home. And they said it in like an upbeat tone because most people there are just trying to get out of there, right? And I started tearing up. I checked back into the secret tunnel. I went back to my room, or back up to my dorm, and I went to the latrine, and I just started crying again. Because I was just so upset. Because every day I was there, I basically come to the point where it was like, if I go back to training, cool. If I get sent home, cool. But that was just not an ideal day because I wasn't even there at the squadron to hear my name get called for InfoBear. Someone had to tell me. And that was just like the last thing I wanted to hear after everything. And I just started crying because I didn't even know how to feel. Like, was I relieved? Was I angry? I was everything, honestly. And mostly I was just kind of numb. Like I was in shock, but not really at the same time. I just couldn't believe it. Like after all that, I had been there. Because I had been at the tryst for almost a month. Like the day I left, that would have made a month I was at the tryst. So on top of the 2 months you're already supposed to be there for basic, if I was already there for 5 weeks, that's about a month and some change. And then I was at the tryst for like a whole month. I'll just say it's like a month and a half, 5 weeks. Because it was about to be 6 weeks, let me remember. So I was there for like a month and a half already. And then I was at the tryst for another month. So I had not seen my family in 2.5 months. Because you're not allowed to video call, you're not allowed to send text or pictures. I mean, you could during phone time at the tryst, you could text people, but not pictures. You could not have your camera on. And I hadn't seen my family in so long. Like, that was the longest I'd ever been away from my family in my whole life. And I was just in disbelief, like I was finally gonna see them again. And for what? To tell them that I failed? That I just wasn't good enough, wasn't stable enough to continue on with training, to be let back into training? And it sucked. Like, it hurt. Because how it felt being sent to the tryst, it just felt like I'd been thrown away. And that was how a lot of people felt. Because I'm sitting here and I'm complaining. There were people who had like even less prominent problems than I did. Like, I knew this one guy. He had his Pacer Forge patch. That means he was literally about to graduate. Like, it was, if I was close, like if where I was is right here in this graduation, this was him, okay? He was right there because he already had his Pacer Forge patch. And he had something wrong with his eye, like some kind of correction in his eye that needed to be fixed. And they sent him home too. And he was so excited. Like, he was going to be special warfare. He wanted to be there. And the audacity of, and I can't speak for every branch, but at least the Air Force and these recruiters, yeah, we want airmen like you. You'd be such an asset to the Air Force. We need people like you. People like you are here. People like him were there. And he got sent away too. His rebuttal got denied and he was getting sent home the same day I was. It was just ridiculous. Because there were so many people. I'm lucky. I have a family that still supports me. They still love me. They told me how proud they were, how proud they are of me, that it wasn't my fault. And I had a home to come back to. Lots of people there didn't. Like, the Air Force was their way of making stability for themselves, and they got sent home all the same. Like, they were nothing. Like, they were going back to nothing. It's not fair. So you just feel like trash, like you've been tossed aside, like squeezed of all of your humanity and dignity and whatever else, anything that makes you feel like a person, just to be thrown away, like in the end regardless. And it is tough. It's hard not to take it personally, basically. So yeah, I got sent home. My rebuttal got denied, and they sent me home the next day. And that was it. After all that, and I'm back here now. So it's like I said earlier, I've been debating making this video for a long time, and I don't know how many people are even gonna see this, but I do hope it helps. And this video was supposed to be short. Looking at the time, this has almost been an hour long, and I'm sorry, because I did keep getting off track, and that's my bad. But I hope it helps somebody. Like, I think I'm gonna title this, "Watch This Before You Go to the Recruiter's Office," because you need to know this before you can even get in that recruiter's face, so they can spin you all this sweet little like fantasy about how, oh, you just need to do this, or oh, you just need to do that. You know, throwing a rock and hiding their hand, basically. They'll tell you like a part of what's going on, but not really everything. There are so many stories about how like a recruiter has screwed somebody over too, and I can't speak for every branch, it's what I keep saying. But in terms of like going into training with a mental health background, especially with depression and anxiety, I can't imagine that it's too different. Like, I would hope not, but I feel like it's probably about the same across the branches. So I just think it's important that people know what they're getting into, like what they are really possibly getting into before they even go to the recruiter's office. And I know they come to high schools and everything. I was homeschooled in high school, so I reached out to a recruiter. No one came to me. And I just wish it was something I would have known, because this is what I want to tell you. If you are serious about joining the Air Force or any branch, but I'm speaking for the Air Force, if you're serious about this and you know you have mental health history, really, really think about what you are really willing to be honest about, basically. Like, if you don't want to hide that part of yourself, if you want to be honest about it and speak to it, don't even bother joining, okay? I'll say that right now. Things might change, but it might be a while before like genuine change happens, I think. I'm sorry to say it. I really don't think it'll do you any good to be honest about it, because it didn't do me any good. Don't be naive like I was. If you want to be honest about what you've gone through, what you might be going through, like, don't even bother going, okay? Because you got to be ready to buckle down and lock all that inside you until at least you finish tech school, probably. And even then, won't even be worth it, because the basic environment, it is going to push you to a limit you've never, or at least I've never experienced before. It was hard, like a different kind of tough experience, and it'll bring out the worst in you, like terrible feelings you've buried down deep inside of you, or like feelings you've buried or feelings you've never experienced before. Like, it'll bring that terrible darkness outside, and you'll make friends, because everyone's trauma bonding. You will make friends, but that won't be enough to save you, because it wasn't enough to save me, because they sent me home either way. So that is just, I just feel like that's something you should know before you even go talk to a recruiter and they can like spin a narrative for you. So yeah, I guess that's it. I don't know how many people will ever even see this, but for anyone who does watch it, I really hope this helps. I hope you have like understanding of how you need to go into this, so you're not like naively answering something you shouldn't be answering, stuff like that. Because honestly, taking that BAS test, what that has taught me, I am going to lie. I'm gonna lie from now on. Have you ever felt blue? I don't even know what color that is, okay? That's what that taught me. So much for integrity first, right? It's one of the core values, isn't it? So yeah, if you do decide to join, whether you're dealing with something like mental health or not, I hope you get everything that you want out of it. I really do. Like, good luck. And I mean that whether you decide to join or not. The military isn't the end all be all. And if you are like me, you got separated due to mental health, you have the option to re-enlist. You just have to probably find a different recruiter. It depends on the code, the separation code you were given. And certain ones you're just not going to be allowed to re-enlist at all. But for most of them, you can. It just depends on like finding a recruiter that would be willing to deal with that, try and get you back in. After 6 months, you can try and re-enlist. But I know I'm not going to. Once was plenty, okay? I tried my hardest, and it fell through, and that's okay. I'm getting my life back on track, and life moves on. The world keeps turning. But to anyone who sees this, if you are planning to join or not join, whatever it is, if my video has like persuaded you, I wish you the best. I hope you live a happy and fulfilling life, and I hope you never have to feel like I did. I hope you never have to feel thrown away, because it sucks, and no one should have to deal with that. So yeah, I guess that's it. After almost a whole hour, that's it. I hope you're having a great day or night whenever you see this. I hope this video helped, and I doubt I'll be making any more stuff like this. I think I've said everything I had to say, but I don't know. I'd love to hear your experiences down in the comments. If you've had anything similar or you're planning to go, I'd love to read them. I'll read all of them if there ever is any. And yeah, I think that's it. Bye.